next day. One table, 12 CEOs, and Donald Trump Jr. Reserve your seat. Call AM 870's General Manager Chris Jones at 714-567-6463. 714-567-6463. Larry Elder reacts to Trump's State of the Union.
The whole point was to talk about his accomplishments, talk about how the economy is doing now, how it's going to be doing down the road, what the benefits will be of the big, beautiful bill, all of which he accomplished. And I'll tell you, I knew it was going to be long. I thought it was going to be too long, but I enjoyed every single minute of it.
The Larry Elder Show. Afternoons at 3. And take Larry everywhere with the AM 870 The Answer app.
This program is sponsored by Freedom Bound International.
In the hands of honest, patriotic people.
In support of the universal principles of truth, justice, and the eternal struggle for freedom for all people, this is the Global Freedom Report. You can be a part of the show by calling 866-870-5752. That's 866-870-KRLA. And now, the host of the Global Freedom Report, Brent Johnson.
They may take our lives, throw us in jail, steal our property, defame our character, but they cannot kill the truth. And for the next 2 hours, the truth is back in business. Freedom means never having to ask those people whom you have allowed to run your government for you for permission to do anything. That is the birthright of all Americans and all free people everywhere. Are you a human being with unalienable rights, or are you a piece of government property who has to say how high every time some bureaucrat tells you to jump? Are you the ruler of your life, or are you subject to someone else's rules and regulations? Are you going to live free or as a slave? This show is about truth, justice, and liberty. We'll also show you practical ways to live free in today's surveillance society and give you a good picture of how the globalist cancer is infecting the world and what you can do to stop it. Coming up on today's show, Professor James McCanney will join us to discuss current weather anomalies being caused by the passage of 3I Atlas through our solar system. Also, we will bring you another invaluable edition of Lessons in Liberty, where you learn really useful things they never taught you in public school. And we will embark on our weekly journey into the dirty world of mind control and behavioral manipulation on Propaganda 101. That's all coming up on today's edition of the show. You can join us right now in our live chat room at www.globalfreedomreport.us, or call us toll-free from anywhere in the United States and Canada at 866-870-KRLA. That number again, 866-870-5752 to go on the air. The Global Freedom Report is an important show. It is the only show in which truth is valued more than politics. We seek to reveal the truth about issues that matter to you concerning freedom. We are totally unbiased. No other show does what we do. That is why it is so important that we stay on the air. To that end, we are asking you to help us maintain our financial viability by contributing to the show. If you value this show, we're asking you to help us with donations. I promise you that any funds you send us will go directly to the cost of keeping the show on the air. You may contribute any amount. However, If you do contribute at least $250, you will receive a free copy of The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation. And I will write a special message to you and sign the book. This is the #1 book on sovereignty in the world. If you contribute at least $500, you will receive a copy of The American Sovereign and also a copy of The Pursuit of Happiness, Freedom, and the Human Spirit, both signed by me. For $1,000 or more, I will also give you free airtime to promote your business or other activities, especially if your activities are in support of liberty. This is a great place for you to advertise. I would like to, if you would like to donate more to help this show stay on the air, I invite you to call us off the air at 888-385-3733, and we'll design a special plan to award you for your contributions. 888-385-3733. We'll be right back with today's edition of the Global Freedom Report.
Fighting for your freedom. This
is the Global Freedom Report.
We'll be right back.
What if you could live free from government regulation? What if you could learn how to lawfully opt out of taxes, eliminate personal liability, and travel in your vehicle without Big Brother watching over you? The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation, reveals the truth about the American legal system, the U.S. Constitution, and shows how to protect your God-given rights. The American Sovereign provides information critical to all people who value liberty. This 250-page full-size paperback will change the way you live and teach you how to reclaim control over your life. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation, is available through Freedom Bound International. Call them toll-free at 888-385-3733. That's 888-385-FREE. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. The American Sovereign, How to Live Free from Government Regulation is the #1 book on sovereignty in the world. Get your copy today.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My question that I have for you for the week, think about it, because I invite you to call in and give me your answer, or you can go to our website at globalfreedomreport.us and give your answer there. What does freedom mean to you? Do you think you are very free? How much freedom do you have? How would you answer those questions? 866-870-KRLA. If you'd like to be on the air live, 866-870-KRLA. Last Thursday, The Atlantic, a publication that is known to lie and misrepresent stories in order to stoke fear in the minds and hearts of its readers, published a heart-wrenching story about an 11-month-old child who died of measles. Written in the second person from the perspective of a mother whose 2 unvaccinated children fell ill with the disease, the story is rich with personal details. Quote, "You plant her on the couch with a blanket and put Bluey on the TV while she drifts in and out of sleep. Quote, while the kids are napping, you tap a list of your daughter's symptoms into Google and find a slew of diseases that more or less match up. Quote, her cough racks her whole body, rounding her delicate bird shoulders. She does not sleep well, and as you lift up her pajama top to check her rash one morning, you see that her breathing is labored, shadows pooling between her ribs when she sucks in air." Heart-wrenching. It turns out that none of it happened. The Atlantic's Elizabeth Bruenig The Atlantic's Elizabeth Brunig simply made up the story out of her diseased, sick mind. It was all a lie designed to foster fear in people. As Laura Hazard Owen of Neiman Lab, who initially busted the lying Brunig, writes, "When I initially read Brunig's story, I was stunned. An Atlantic staff writer's unvaccinated child had died of measles in the 2020s, and now she was writing about it. At the end of Brunig's piece, though, there is an editor's note, quote, "This story is based on extensive reporting and interviews with physicians, including those who have cared directly for patients with measles," end quote. That was the point when I sent a gift link to my mom group, wrote Owen. As far as I can tell, this piece is fiction. What do we think about this choice? I am very conflicted. Well, the article was an outright lie. I wonder if people whose minds might be changed by this fabrication made by a diseased individual pretending to be a journalist, people who love their children enough to not vaccinate them, would see that it is fake. Following the publication, 2 journalists reached out to Owen to let her know that they were seriously bothered because there was no editor's note explaining that the piece of garbage was false. Furthermore, the Atlantic's lying spokesman told one of the journalists, and I quote, "This is based on a mother's real account," end quote, which is another outright lie. This situation is a genuine opportunity for people who use their brains to actually think, to stop reading The Atlantic, stop believing anything The Atlantic publishes, and stop viewing The Atlantic as a legitimate news publication. May you use this experience as a powerful learning tool and be empowered to think for yourself. To the rest of you, those who would rather play mindless games on their phones and do nothing worthwhile with their lives, we grieve for your children and look forward to the time when you are no longer living on this planet. But let me tell you how I really feel. What do you think about that? The Atlantic published this story about a heart-wrenching story. When I first read it, it brought me to tears. This girl died of measles. It's a made-up, fabricated story. Finally and at last, the Atlantic itself has admitted it. There ought to be consequences for something like that. What do you think? 866-870-KRLA. All right, coming up, we're going to take a walk into outer space. And we're going to take a look at what's happening out there and what's happening here on Earth as a result of what's happening in outer space. That's coming up on the Global Freedom Report. If you want to be part of the show, give us a call at 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We'll be right back with today's edition of the Global Freedom Report. Don't go away, folks.
You're listening to the
Global Freedom Report.
We'll be right back.
DOJA, the Department of Government Accountability. This is our citizen-led watchdog task force under American-made action. We're exposing corruption in child welfare, family courts, and unconstitutional federal programs like Title IV-E. The funding that is sifted straight down through the Health and Human Services Agency into the Social Security Administration and directly out to the agencies across 50 states that are responsible for the separation of children and families. And through lawful notices, federal lawsuits, and investigative media, DOJA is holding those rogue officials accountable, demanding transparency and restoring parental rights. We're not waiting for Congress. We're the people taking lawful action now. Visit AmericanMadeAction.org. Hit the Take Action button and join the reckoning.
Freedom Fever.
Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
Freedom Fever. Catch it today.
Paranoia strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man come and take you away.
Global Freedom Report. Professor James McCanney has always been ahead of the curve when it comes to math and physics. In high school, he studied math and physics. He was offered a full scholarship because of his school performance. After graduating from college with a double major in math and physics, he was burned out and took a break to teach school in Mexico, where he got his feet wet in archaeology, which led to a fellowship at Tulane University in Louisiana. Eventually, he taught at Cornell University for 4 years and got his PhD in physics and celestial mechanics. Now, he was in his element. However, he soon discovered that his understanding of how the universe works was not fully grasped by the college. They censored his writing. They allowed him to continue teaching, but all his works and writings were opposed by the college, and he was shadow banned and had a staff member follow him everywhere to ensure he did not counter or challenge the status quo. Ultimately, he left the lofty but uninformed
AM 870, The Answer is everywhere. On the air in SoCal at AM 870 on your AM 870 smartphone app.
The advantage of modern technology.
And now on Amazon and Google Home speakers. Just ask for AM 870, The Answer.
Are you listening?
AM 870, The Answer is everywhere. On the air in SoCal at AM 870 on your AM 870 smartphone app.
The advantage of modern technology.
And now on Amazon and Google Home speakers.
The world's changing fast. Truth should not. Want to see the world through a biblical lens, giving you the clarity and courage to live out what you believe in? The Jack Hibbs Show. Bold truth, real hope, right when you need it. Sunday at 7 a.m. Jack brings clear, compelling conversation and teaching that connects God's Word to the real world you're living in. To learn more, go to jackhibbs.com or tune in Sunday at 7 a.m.
Larry Elder here with an idea. How about making 2026 as pain-free as possible? If you've been living with chronic back or joint pain and just taking pain pills, you can get lasting relief with the help of Dr. Rosenberg at Spinatomy Spine and Disc Center. Spinal restoration treatment to relieve, repair, and restore. It's not traditional chiropractic. It's not pain management. It is breakthrough non-surgical treatment using PRP, peptide therapy, joint regeneration, and cellular medicine that helps your body heal from the inside out.
Am I there, Travis?
Restoration treatments work from the outside in to repair discs, restore nerves, rebuild joints, and get you back to living again. For a complimentary evaluation, call 818-275-8226. That's 818-275-8226. Spinatomy, Spine, and Disc Centers, Culver City.
In high school, he studied math and physics. He was offered a full college scholarship because of his school performance. After graduating from college with a double major in math and physics, we've been through that. Okay. Just a moment, folks, because I want to get to the end of this. Well, I will not be, due to technical difficulties, I will not be able to continue the extensive explanation of who my guest is. Let me just say, he is extremely well suited for his scientific, astronomical, mathematical genius. I have known this man for decades. I have found him to be the most credible in his fields of expertise, which are extensive. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce you now to Professor James McCanney. Professor McCanney, welcome to the Global Freedom Report. How are you?
Good, Brent. Very good. Just you're getting started. The line cuts. Is that a coincidence or what?
I have no idea. I have this beautiful, brilliant introduction for you. I spent a lot of time on it. I value my guests, and I very much like to set the stage for them. And I don't know what happened. I didn't even know about it. My producer came in and said, Brent, you're off the air. So hopefully, as we get into the meat and potatoes of our discussion, hopefully we're not going to encounter any more of that, because we have a lot of important stuff to talk about. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Let me start. Last year, a stellar object passed through our planetary system and is reportedly now heading out the other side of the solar system. It has been named 3I Atlas. This object has displayed a number of anomalous behaviors and has raised numerous questions that to date remain unanswered by scientists. To start off, as far as we know, what exactly is 3I Atlas?
Well, what happened is this came in from, excuse me, outside the solar system. It's one of 3 that have been detected because now we have good enough equipment that can detect these objects that are really moving fast. But it's a comet. And the whole problem with all of this difficulty with explanation is because science is still pushing this dirty snowball comet model, which is completely bogus. It never was true. It couldn't possibly be true. Above my head here is a placard that I took in 1997 to an American Geophysical Union meeting. So I have it in the studio behind me here as a backdrop. But you can see there's a title up above, Plasma Discharge Comet Model. And so really what this is a comet doing very normal comet things. And also for the first time, they have a lot of equipment that's actually examining the comet. Radio telescopes. They have the James Webb telescope that's looking in infrared. They have the Hubble Space Telescope. And to give a perspective, this is part of a much bigger psyops. And that's why a lot of people have probably heard about this comet, in spite of the fact that it's a small comet. It's not visible to the naked eye. Nobody would even know it's there if it weren't for this incredible amount of misinformation that's pouring out, literally, of the CIA. And the CIA has classified all data as above top secret. They don't even allow any commentary that it exists, that the data exists. We know they're taking huge amounts of data with dozens of spacecraft and ground-based instruments, radio telescopes, and etc. But what I want to do is go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, we're about to hit a break. That's why I have to do that. However, okay. Also, what you just said, that's why you're here. Okay, because you're gonna set us all straight. Okay, I know that if it comes from you, you can back it up, and you can back it up substantially. So my guest is Professor James McCanney, scientist extraordinaire. We'll be right back with more of the Global Freedom Report. Stay tuned.
This is where the truth matters.
The Global Freedom Report.
Don't go away. Brent will return in a moment.
A common law Pure Trust organization is the most powerful asset protection device available. Pure Trusts have been around in the USA since 1790, when Patriot Patrick Henry created the first one. Pure Trusts establish ironclad protection for real property, vehicles, businesses, and just about anything else. A Pure Trust creates a wall of privacy over its assets, reduces personal liability, and protects property from attachment. Freedom Bound International has been creating Pure Trusts for over 35 years, and none of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. Call today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us for information and applications for their Pure Trusts. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
The Answer. Breaking news.
U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz says overnight strikes on Iran were meant to ensure the Iranian regime cannot threaten the world with a nuclear weapon.
Speaking at a meeting of the UN Security Council, Waltz defended Operation Epic Fury.
Its refusal to abandon nuclear ambitions, despite diplomatic opportunities, presents a grave and mounting danger.
Jim Forbes reporting. Larry Marino in the Answer Newsroom.
Have you noticed losing weight feels harder than it used to be? You're eating better, you're moving more, but the scale barely moves. That could be incredibly frustrating. You start wondering what's going on. Is it age, hormones? Could it be stress? For many, the real problem isn't willpower, it's metabolic dysfunction. And standard dieting often makes it worse. At PhD Weight Loss, they don't just tell you to eat less and exercise more. There's so much more than that. They help you fix the root cause of stubborn weight gain. In fact, they've helped thousands finally understand why their bodies resist weight loss and what actually works. Right now, you can take their free metabolic assessment at fixmyweightloss.com. Fixmyweightloss.com. It's quick, personalized, and pinpoints the real reason your body is holding on to weight, so you finally know what to fix. Stop guessing. Start understanding your body. Visit fixmyweightloss.com. Fixmyweightloss.com. From our friends at PhD Weight Loss, visit fixmyweightloss.com now.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? The Dragon's Prophecy is powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at Vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
We don't make the news that happens. We just bring it to you first with the facts, then the opinions. AM 870, The Answer. AM 870, The Answer.
Hi,
This is Alan Gottlieb, working to protect and preserve your right to keep and bear arms. And you're listening to the Global Freedom Report with Brent Johnson.
You're the ones who taught me that you can make your own destiny. You don't have to be ruled by fate. You can choose freedom. I still believe that that's something worth fighting for. I just wanted you to understand that.
They're watching my house and they're tapping my telephone. I don't trust nobody, but I'm much too scared to be on my own. And the income tax collector has got his beady eyes on me.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My guest is Professor James McCanney. Professor McCanney, welcome back to the show. During its travel through our solar system, 3I Atlas at times seemed to change course, slow down, speed up, and shed strange substances from its core. At one point, it even appeared to be acting as if it was being directionally powered. Some have suggested it displayed the characteristics of an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Could you please shed any light on this anomalous stellar object?
Yeah, that's very normal comet behavior. And what's going on is I call it tail drag. What happens is I have a diagram here above my head. It's on right here. Let's see. There we go. And the comet is really, nothing's coming off the nucleus at all. In fact, one of the recent reports that came out of the databases from NASA is that they measured this fact. Nothing is coming off the nucleus. The material is coming in from the environment, and it's due to electrical forces. And this is the whole idea that comets are something very different than this idea that it's a snowball melting in space. And so what happens is, as this rock basically discharges the solar capacitor, which is an electrical condition that the sun produces, which NASA doesn't know about, doesn't believe in, because they're still locked in the 1930s. What happens is the material that's being brought in by the electrical forces puts a drag on the nucleus and changes its orbit. So what it's doing is very natural. But now here's the twist. Avi Loeb has been the person who's gotten the most publicity. And just to be kind, I think he's either being used or he's willfully being used, possibly for a healthy support, let's put it that way, funding for his projects, and supporting this dirty snowball comet model, which does not explain anything. All of these factors, you just named one of them, the non-Keplerian movement of the comet, is very much natural. And so when it comes in, the tail drag is pulling on it, so it slows down. As it passes around the sun and is on its way out, the tail drag pulls on it and speeds it up because the force is in the direction of motion. And that's exactly what they measured. So this is all explainable by real theoretical models.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Avi Loeb, because Avi Loeb, his claim to fame is Harvard astrophysicist. That's his claim to fame. And of all the material that kept coming out that's saying it's an alien spacecraft, it's got internal power. I mean, all of it was coming from Avi Loeb. Avi Loeb,
Right.
the sole individual. I mean, he apparently had a pretty good PR team, I guess, because he
One of
got
the
a lot of
best,
exposure there. Yeah, he got a lot of exposure. But okay, you said it twice already. Okay, the melting snowball model is not true. Now, the presumption is that the melting snowball model, meaning that the comet is some kind of stellar object that is in the freezing cold of space. It's ice cold, and as it moves, Okay, it generates heat, and as it generates heat, it melts the ice. I'm presuming. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not
the
a
story is,
scientist, but that's what I'm
yeah, well,
assuming.
the story
Is
is
that
when it
kind of
gets
the act?
close to the sun. Yeah,
Okay.
the story is when it gets
Okay.
close to the sun, it heats up. And that story actually began with Kepler in the Middle Ages. So that has been the concept of a comet since Kepler and
Well,
Halley. That this tail points away from the sun. This thing gets near the sun, which must heat it up, and it's totally incorrect. In 2018, the European Space Agency had a probe. It was called the Philae lander, and it landed on the nucleus of a comet. And there was no water, no ice, no snow, and nothing coming off the nucleus. And the closest they measured water to the nucleus was about 10 kilometers. So it's been known. And I mean, direct measurement, yet they continue with this facade of the dirty snowball comet model. It's just incorrect.
Well, then that leads to two other questions. Question one, what's the benefit of continuing a disproven principle? And question number two is that in one or two sentences, okay, with my limited knowledge of the topic, okay, and my audience's limited knowledge of the topic, how would you, what would you say it is, or the comet in general is, if it's not a dirty snowball?
Okay, well, let me describe the process here that I had figured out, and this is back when I was at Cornell. So this is about 50 years ago, literally, that the sun puts out an excess current of protons in the solar wind. We know there's a solar wind, but that creates a capacitor. Okay, so now it's like the backyard bug killer where the bug flies in the grid and it zaps the bug. It's the exact same physical process, except here you've got a plasma. You've got the sun creating this charge. The positive side is out beyond the orbit of Pluto. So everything within this capacitor is discharging it. And the comets do more because they're on elliptical orbits. They're cutting the gradient of the electric field. So in a layman's terms, what's going on is this rock, which is just a hot rock. It's nothing, it has no water or ice on it. It discharges the solar capacitor. The electrons are the primary charge carrier, and they build up a negative charge around the nucleus, which draws in this material that is positively charged, and that's what we see as the comet. So that's why I call it the plasma discharge comet model. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
well,
known this,
okay,
that's your question is why would they maintain something that's patently false? It's been measured false. And that's because, okay, if that were known and this comet theory were publicly acknowledged, Avi Loeb wouldn't have a story. He wouldn't be able to claim alien spaceship. The whole thing that's going on now, the big psyops, is over aliens. Now you have the disclosure movement going on. They're trying to get President Trump to admit that we have alien technology. You have Avi Loeb saying there's aliens coming in on a spacecraft. You have Pete Hegseth forming huge amounts, billions of dollars going into these corporations for a defense network that's interstellar, interplanetary defense system. And guess what? Out of all of this, the UN is in on it. The banking models, you find that the rogue nations that aren't playing along with the New World Order are being summarily attacked one by one. And the reason is because they are frantic to usher in the New World Order. And we knew this from Wernher von Braun. Before he died, he said there's going to be 4 stages to bring in the New World Order government. He said the very last one will be a false flag alien invasion. And so we're seeing that right now. And so Avi Loeb wouldn't have a story if it weren't for the failing dirty snowball comet model. If you could explain all of these comet phenomenon with a real theory, then he wouldn't have the ability to say it's an alien spacecraft.
I can appreciate what you're saying. However, it's difficult for me to presume that 100% of the qualified people out there refuse to take a look at this alternative way. I can understand. There
Well,
could be a whole there could be a whole conglomeration of people who have vested interest in maintaining a false perspective. But I would think you're one of them who, you know, who doesn't want to go along with that. I'd imagine there got to be a few others, aren't there?
oh yeah, oh yeah. I see it behind the scenes. I am one of the more famous people. I have two parts to what you might call fame or acknowledgement of my work. One is on shows like this, where I'm invited all the time to straighten out misinformation, etc. And the second one is in the scientific community, which is international. And behind the scenes, I'm very busy communicating with scientists who are completely behind what I'm doing. And not only did I talk about comets when I did my work at Cornell, I restructured almost all of cosmology, from the way fusion works in the sun, the way the galactic nuclei worked, the difficulties with general relativity, the very long list of things that have to be corrected. And that's going on in the background. And you don't see that because the funding mechanisms are what drive the news media that you see, the science news media, which then floods
Follow
into
the money.
educational system. Yeah, and but
Follow the
see, now
money.
this
Yeah.
is very important that they maintain this alien technology concept. And like I say, Avi Loeb wouldn't have a story if you could explain what these comets are doing with real theoretical work. And so,
Well,
and that's why they're trying to. Go ahead.
No, sorry to interrupt. We're coming up on another break, but I would assume then that your response to the suggestion that 3i Atlas is an alien spacecraft would be no. I would presume that's the case. Am I correct?
No, and for dozens and dozens of reasons. The reasons they give are bogus when you actually look at it.
Okay, we're going to take another break. Stay with me. I hope you're going to stay with me into the second hour, because we're not going to get through everything in the next 15 minutes or so. Good. My guest is Professor James McCanney. The topic, 3i Atlas, interstellar comets, and the truth about all of it. This is the Global Freedom Report. We'll be right back after these words.
From coast to coast and around the world, this
is the Global Freedom Report.
And we'll be back in a minute.
Freedom Bound International is a common law service center specializing in asset protection. For more than 35 years, they've helped people free themselves from government control. Their common law pure trust organization successfully protects property from confiscation, claims, liens, and judgments. None of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. The Private Interest Foundation holds assets internationally, distributes funds privately, and does so anonymously. Their stealth LLCs let you set up banking as privately as possible. They offer books, CDs, DVDs, and a variety of products and services designed to teach you how to live free from Big Brother. Call them today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
Freedom Fever.
We observe today a celebration of freedom. The same revolutionary beliefs for which our forebears fought are still at issue around the globe. The belief that the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God.
Freedom Fever. Spread it around.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My guest is Professor James McCanney. We're talking science. We're talking outer space. We're talking truth. And after all, that's what it's all about. Welcome back, Professor McKinney. Our world, over a long period of time, has been experiencing numerous weather patterns that do not appear normal. Could 3i Atlas be at least partially responsible for these kinds of weather oddities? And if not, how would you account for the weather anomaly? I mean, they're happening everywhere. Right now, we just crossed into March 1st. It's 80 degrees where I am in northern Texas. Okay. Another part of the country, it's below zero with 12 feet of snow. I mean, it has been odd, really odd, the last few years. What can you tell us about these weather patterns? And is 3i Atlas or any of the interstellar objects, are they having any kind of impact on this?
Well, the 3i Atlas started its effect on Earth on around January 14th this year. And that's because we came in a perfect electrical alignment, and it was far away. It was like approaching the orbit of Jupiter. I mean, it was way out there, but it has a very large electrical discharge. So there's two ways of measuring size of a comet. One is the physical nucleus, which is maybe the size of the island of Manhattan or something, or smaller maybe. But the electrical discharge is millions and millions of miles long. And that's what we're connecting with. And that's what drives our weather. So, and we saw proof of that with red auroras. Red auroras are due to electrons. And electrons don't come from the solar wind. They were coming from the comet. And so also the comet was connecting in electrically with Jupiter. And so that Jupiter also has this big cross solar system electrical current sheet that's associated with, and we are connecting in to both of those. They were connected together. So we had two hurricanes off Cape Hatteras dumping snow in, like you say. There was a snowstorm in Russia, 40 feet of snow in one day. That's not normal. And they buried apartment buildings. People were digging tunnels to get food to these people that were trapped in this thing. And at the same time, the eastern United States had months, literally a month now, of very severe weather. And now that electrical connection has ended. And so now we're getting back to somewhat normal weather. But we did have a bout of weather and winds.
Well, we had the really, really cold weather, and it was supposedly the stories that I read said that there's something called the polar vortex, which is an area right by the North Pole that normally stays there, but for some reason, whatever kept the polar vortex in place dissipated for a time, and the polar vortex essentially escaped and came down further south into Canada and the U.S. And the result was these ice cold free. This is a story that has been put out that I have read. Now again, I'm a layman on this. I know nothing about it. But what is what you're talking about related to this polar vortex? Is it something completely different? And now for something completely different. Can you shed more light on this for us?
Yeah, I get a kick out of these terms, the polar vortex. Now, you didn't hear that when you were a kid, did you? And
no, never heard of it. Never. Brand new.
It's a new. They make up these scary terms.
I thought it was me. I thought it was me though. I thought I just didn't know about it.
They make up these scary terms. There's another one they called when these two hurricanes formed off Cape Hatteras and dumped all that snow in the Carolinas a couple weeks ago. They called it a bomb cyclone, like, woo, scary term, but that's the weatherman's way of explaining what they don't understand. And the real reason was we were connecting into the electrical cross solar system current sheet of Comet 3i Atlas and Jupiter. And this happens with Jupiter about every 13 months. I call them the Jupiter winds. And we get these straight line winds every time we come between the sun and Jupiter. And these are weather events that are predictable. I've been talking about this for decades, but the weatherman they make up these scary terms, and it makes it sound like they actually know what they're talking about. But no, there's no such thing as a solar or a polar vortex. That's a made up
Oh,
term.
interesting. Well, you said something I thought was very interesting. You said that 3I Atlas comet, that the nucleus of it was, what did you say, 10 miles or something?
Well, we don't know. I mean, those are
Yeah,
estimates that I've heard come out of
right,
NASA, and we
right.
really don't know.
But then you came and you said the electrical discharge is like 1,000. I mean, a tremendously larger figure than the actual
Right.
nucleus. My question is that odd? Is that normal? Is that, is that some kind of strange situation? Or with most comets that come through, is that the kind of relationship between the size of the nucleus and the extent of the electrical discharge?
Yeah, well, there's a couple factors here, but one of them is the velocity at which it's cutting the gradient of the solar system electric field. So this one is interstellar, so it's coming in really, really fast. And so it's like the bug flying into the bug killer. If the bug flies in fast, the zap occurs much quicker. If you could imagine a bug, those two screens on your backyard bug killer, flying really, really slowly into that grid, it would take a long time for that discharge to take place, and the discharge would not be as big. And so that's what's happening with the comet in the solar system, is because it's moving much faster. It's not so much the size of the nucleus, it's how fast it's moving. So that's one of the things I understand with my theoretical work. And so there's a much bigger, with this comet 3I Atlas, it's a much bigger electrical discharge than a normal small comet.
How do you account for that much bigger electrical discharge?
Because it's coming in, it's cutting the gradient of the field. In other words, it's crossing the electrical field lines much faster, and so it causes a much bigger electrical discharge. This is plasma physics, probably one of the more complicated areas of study, and one of the more misunderstood areas of study amongst astrophysicists and space scientists. But I was talking about the international community following my work, and this is going on in the background. People are waking up and understanding what I have done and my understanding of how outer space works. But you're not going to, you have the publications, the peer-reviewed publications fighting this because they want to rely on their laurels. They want to believe that they've been right all of these years. So it's like they have a lot of vested interest in this. Also, there's this push from the intelligence community to maintain that science because they want the public rather stupid. And it turns out that comets are at the center of many, many things, including religious beliefs, the understanding of what the end days will be like and what causes those. And so there's a lot involved in keeping the public stupid about comets.
Well,
because
it's kind of, yeah, go ahead.
Go
ahead. We're coming up.
Comets are typically small, physically small, the nucleus, but they can be gigantic. They can be enormous, like planetary size. And those are very rare, but we have heard about them in history. And they do a lot of damage when they come through the solar system.
Well, okay, we got a lot more to talk about. We're coming up on our top of the hour break. Okay, if you'd like to join in, if you have questions for my guest, Professor James McCanney, the toll-free number is 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more with Professor James McCanney right here on the Global Freedom Report.
More about freedom and your phone calls right after this.
AM 870, The Answer. Southern California's only local news and talk station you can trust.
Arif, you had an elderly couple retiring with a large amount of assets wanting to leave a legacy for their children.
Right, Dennis. You know that I'm CEO of TFS Financial Insurance Services. I'm also a certified estate planner. Well, these two services dovetail nicely in helping people with reliable retirement income and leaving a legacy.
And what's a good way to leave a legacy?
First, you use all extra income to pay down debts on assets that we are going to leave behind.
That makes sense. What about other assets such as life insurance or real estate?
Life insurance can go directly to your children because it's tax-free, and real estate go directly to your children and should be in a living trust so that it escapes those large probate fees.
Wow. My mind is blown in 60 seconds. You really know your stuff, Arif. That's why Sue and I are your clients, and we are, folks. I urge you to let Arif Halaby, CEO of TFS Financial Insurance Services, help you. Call 888-99-RETIRE, 888-99-RETIRE, 888-99-RETIRE.
Twitchy.com brings you the latest in social news, highlighting and reacting to important conversations from America's most prominent journalists, politicians, and celebrities. Twitchy's kinetic group of editors deliver fast and amusing content around the clock to tell you who said what in global and political news, sports, entertainment, and media. If it's news, they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
Severe numbness, tingling, a burning sensation in your feet and hands, or weakness that can take away your ability to walk or even use your arms. It's a nerve issue, neuropathy.
The numbness could become so severe that the patients don't feel where their legs are, so when they walk, they tend to fall because of the lack of sensation.
That's Dr. Shulian, the Nerve MD, who treats and relieves neuropathy, especially severe neuropathy. Call 877-88-NERVE. PPO and regular Medicare accepted. Get relief. Call 877-88-NERVE.
Portions of the following are pre-recorded.
AM 870, The Answer. Find us at am870theanswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv.
With SRN News, I'm Mary Rose. The U.S. and Israel are pounding targets across Iran, dropping massive bombs on the country's ballistic missile facilities and wiping out warships as part of an intensifying military campaign that accompanied the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini. Iran vowed revenge, firing missiles at Israel and Gulf Arab in a counteroffensive that the U.S. military said resulted in the deaths of 3 service members. President Trump is back at the White House, where he says he recognizes the pain felt by families of service members killed in action.
We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more.
The gunman who killed 2 people in Austin was wearing a shirt that said "Property of Allah." This is SRN News.
Every great financial journey begins with one step, and this is yours. At our free trading and investing workshop, you'll learn how to approach these markets with clarity, purpose, and the mindset of a true investor. This is your chance to break old patterns, build new skills, and create the future you've imagined for yourself and your family. Text the word TRADE to the number 210-210 for 2 free seats, or go to tradingacademy.com.
Tune in to Investing and Trading Live, Saturdays at 8 a.m. on AM 870, The Answer.
Larry Elder here with an idea. How about making 2026 as pain-free as possible? If you've been living with chronic back or joint pain and just taking pain pills, you can get lasting relief with the help of Dr. Rosenberg at Spinatomy Spine and Disc Centers. Spinatomy uses regenerative medicine combined with their world-renowned spinal restoration treatment to relieve, repair, and restore. It's not traditional chiropractic. It's not pain management. It is breakthrough non-surgical treatment using PRP, peptide therapy, joint regeneration, and cellular medicine that helps your body heal from the inside out, while their advanced spinal restoration treatments work from the outside in to repair discs, restore nerves, rebuild joints, and get you back to living again. For a complimentary evaluation, call 818-275-8226. That's 818-275-8226. Spinatomy Spine and Disc Centers, Culver City, Van Nuys, Ontario. Financing is available. Call 818-275-8226.
At National Geographic Society, we believe in the power of wonder. It drives us to explore, pushes us to see the world differently, moves us to action. And we believe that today, wonder is more essential than ever. Wow. That's why we're supporting a new generation of explorers to ask big questions, make breakthroughs, and bring the future closer. Wonder awaits. Will you join us? Visit natgeo.org/wonder.
Are you one of California's most influential CEOs? On June 1st, join AM 870's CEO Roundtable discussion with Donald Trump Jr. for exclusive discussions and insights shaping the future of business here in Southern California. It includes dinner, overnight stay at a 5-star hotel, and golf the next day. One table, 12 CEOs, and Donald Trump Jr. Reserve your seat. Call AM 870's General Manager Chris Jones at 714-567-6463. 714-567-6463. AM 870, The Answer.
Back to hour number 2 of the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. If you'd like to be part of the show, the toll-free number is 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. My guest is scientist extraordinaire, Professor James McCanney. We're talking about 3i Atlas. We're talking about weather anomalies. We're talking about what is true and what is not true. And I'm going to ask you a question about that in just a moment. One thing, though, okay, just before we get back to the questions with my guest, our question of the week. What does freedom mean to you? Is it as simple as, hey, I'm free to get in my car and go where I want, but not without your travel papers? What does freedom mean to you? Do you think you are very free? How much freedom do you actually have? That's the question for this week in various parts. If you'd like to answer the question, if you'd like to speak with Professor McCanney, if you want to talk to me, 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. Professor McCanney, welcome back again. Now, okay, you just spoke to me about the so-called polar vortex, and you're smiling about it. Now, I'm a pretty smart guy. Granted, okay, I don't know what you know, but I'm a pretty smart guy, and I don't just buy into anything that anybody says. I consider, I look into it, I study things, I do my best to get some empirical information, okay, or at least some additional perspective on things. But I knew nothing about this polar vortex, absolutely nothing. My question for you, how does one know what's real and what's fabricated? Like, if you hadn't told me this, I honestly would go on believing there's this polar vortex and it got out of control, and so it moved south and it made us have all these horrible snowstorms. And it sounds perfectly reasonable to my layman's mind. Now, we know that today it's almost impossible to know what's real, what's not real. You see a video, you see a picture of somebody, you know that person looks like that somebody, but you're never sure. Between cloning and fabrication and duplication, anything you see in a video can be. AI can make it fabricated. It's very easy to do if you have the right equipment. In that type of world, how do you determine what's real and what's not?
It's really, really difficult. But in terms, say, polar vortex, in physics, things just don't happen. There's the old expression, something happens. I won't say it on here. But in physics, stuff just doesn't happen. There has to be a reason for it. There has to be a driving force. There has to be a source of energy. and you don't have massive amounts of cold air coming down from the polar region for no reason at all. There has to be a reason for that happening. And that reason is outside of our own planetary system. See, one of the big assumptions in most science, and this starts with astronomy, this goes back to Carl Sagan and way before him, the idea that the Earth has to do everything by itself. And then the other contributor would be sunlight coming in to our planet, which supposedly drives weather and creates hurricanes and warm water and on and on. And the absolute reality is, let's take a look at hurricanes. They would tell you that hurricanes form from warm water. This air mass moves across warm water, and somehow that organizes into a hurricane. Well, that violates the 3 laws of thermodynamics. You can't have an unorganized heat source become an organized heat source. It's the opposite. An organized heat source like a hurricane, if left to itself, would just dissipate in a matter of minutes. So something else is driving that hurricane, if you see what I mean. So the end result is what, and of course, they keep the data from the public. So they create these scary terms, polar vortex, bomb cyclone, and everybody goes, ooh, the bomb cyclone off of North Carolina, driving all this weather in. But what caused the bomb cyclone? They don't tell you that. It's kind of like when they talk about life coming from another solar system. You'll hear this a lot, that this interplanetary or interstellar object 3I Atlas could bring life to our solar system. Well, where did it come from over there? Where did it start? Somewhere it had to start. And so they remove the source one level, and everybody goes, oh, well, that solves the problem. No, it doesn't solve the problem. Where did it start over there? How did life start over in that other place to bring it here? So like I say, in physics, chemistry, or biology, stuff just doesn't happen. There's got to be a reason for it.
Well,
so
now, okay, let's take that a little further. When you inject into what you just said, artificial intelligence, how, if at all, does that change your perspective?
Well, artificial intelligence is really mislabeled. What they're doing today, there's actually very little artificial intelligence. What it is, because I spent 25 years in the computer industry, I've seen this come and go before. They call it knowledge-based systems. What they have is they've accumulated huge amounts of data. It's a cross-referencing database. So you go to ChatGPT and you go, how many people won the Super Bowl who were what do you call it? The lowest team coming in. What do you call that? They're like the anyway. You ask a question like that, it goes out and it finds all the data.
The lowest seed.
Yeah, the lowest seed.
Saying the lowest
how
seed.
many of those actually won the Super Bowl? It'll go out and pick out all this information, put it together, and in less than a second, spit it back to you and say, oh, and then it'll name off the teams, which ones they were, what season it was, and all of that. That's a cross-referencing database. It's not AI. So everything they're calling AI today really isn't AI. Or if they're developing a video.
Well, that's it. You see a video. I've seen videos. They look real. I mean, they look so real. And later on, I found out it's AI.
Yeah, right. I just saw one of me that they took my picture, and it makes it look like I'm talking and making motions with my hands, which I'm doing. It's really me right now. But they took, somebody did that, and it's anyway. But AI wouldn't exist if it didn't have a model to base it on, like a picture of you or me or some chick that's talking on an AI commercial. That's the big thing now, is to grab attention with the person, but they're a complete AI person, and they look very real. I got to admit, but AI, there's very little real AI.
Well, but we do hear about all kinds of things. I mean, the Terminator scenario, where AI gets smart enough that it decides it's going to take over. Is there
right, or the movie 2001?
even Professor Stephen Hawking said that AI is going to be the destruction of the human race.
Mhm.
What are we looking at?
Yeah, and it's going to self-destruct, though. It already is, because it's information overload. We already had information overload. Now an AI can generate a movie, a complete 3-hour movie, 20 seconds. You know, so the capacity of people to absorb this and watch it and listen to it is it's over the top now. So it's really going to kill itself. It's like the monster that grew, you know, so big that it ran out of food.
So
And there's nobody
you
to
don't
consume all of this
you don't
AI.
you don't think AI is the threat that Hawking suggested, and you don't think
It's
it's like
a serious threat. I made a prediction. I said all of the companies that take AI in a big way will be out of business in 10 years. And I've seen this coming before. There was a when I was back in manufacturing in the electronics industry, there was a thing called just in time. It was that you shouldn't have all of this stock and stuff to build your jet engine or your electronics. Shouldn't have it on the shelf. You should wait till the last second and then order it, and then you don't have all this money invested in stock. But every company that did that failed, and that's because if you didn't have one piece, you couldn't sell your product. And that one piece had a supply chain that went down, and everybody was doing just in time. It failed, and it was predictably failing. So AI is the same. The companies
Oh,
that pick up AI in a big way are going to fail.
well, I sincerely hope you're right, because I think AI, you know, is it's a recipe for completely further stupidifying the general population.
Right.
That's my
Well,
word, stupidifying.
can you imagine, like back in the 80s, there was knowledge-based systems. And the idea was you get all the smart people in the world, put their information in a database, and then we have all knowledge. Well, can you imagine living today by the what we do in 1980? You know, that's stupid. And so that's going to happen now, that what we know in 2026 is going to be archaic in 10 years. But all these AI systems are building on knowledge today and think that they are encapsulating all knowledge. And it's not true. Things
Oh,
change,
interesting.
they progress.
Interesting. Uh, whatever 3i Atlas, let's go back to that. Whatever 3i Atlas has caused or affected, it is now far enough away from us that we can reliably say its impact on our planet and solar system is finished or not. If not, how much longer do we expect to experience its effects? Are we done with it?
Okay. Well, here's the interesting twist with 3i Atlas. Right now, in fact, within a couple of days, it's having right now a gravitational interaction with Jupiter. And what's going on is we don't know where it's going to end up, because NASA has hit all of the data, what we call the ephemeris, or the orbital elements. And so, given that information, we could say, okay, it's going to orbit around Jupiter. Jupiter's going to fling it back into the solar system or something. We don't know. So right now, today, it's entering the realm of Jupiter, interacting with Jupiter in a big way. And it may just toss it out of the solar system more, or it may throw it back in the solar system. We don't know. But this is all hush hush.
My understanding was it was since, what was it? I think December 25th or something, maybe November 25th. It was supposed to be heading out the other side of the sun.
Yeah, but except
how does it end up back to Jupiter now?
Well, it's coming very, very, very close to Jupiter, and we've seen comets interact with Jupiter before. Hale-Bopp had an orbital change, a significant one, and it was very far away. It was like 0.7 astronomical units from Jupiter, and had a significant change in orbit. In 3i Atlas is nose to nose. I mean, it's right there next to Jupiter. So it's going to have a very significant orbital change right now.
Yesterday, it was the first day of it. We just went through a 6-planet alignment: Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune. not including Earth, Mars, or Pluto. I know Pluto's not what it's supposed to be. When we come back, we have a break again. When we come back, I want to ask you whether or not that 6-planet alignment plays a factor in what you're discussing. My guest is Professor James McCanney. We have callers on the line. We will take your calls, 866-870-5752. We'll be right back with more after these words.
More about freedom and your phone calls right after this.
Are you ready to awaken to the truth? Birthright, Born Free, Live Free is the award-winning documentary shaking audiences across America. And now you can host a screening in your community, either in person or virtually. Visit birthrightthemovie.com and select Host a Screening. Hosts can sell tickets and keep a portion of the proceeds or purchase a license to offer a free event. Birthright, because freedom isn't free and silence is surrender.
Hi, this is Rebel Jack Country, bringing freedom, heart, and grit through music. And you're listening to the Global Freedom Report with Brent Johnson.
Is your child defiant, independent, annoyingly inquisitive? After a long, hard day of following the rules, who wants to deal with troublesome kids? You don't make waves, so why should they? Studies show that 49% of children suffer from oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD. ODD is a real problem in our society, according to the DSM, the big book that lets psychiatrists know who's mentally ill and who's not. ODD is also known as libertitis, or inflammation of the liberty. It's been a serious problem for almost 50 years. Symptoms of ODD include independent thought, rampant creativity, and failure to submit to authority. In severe cases, kids may be suspended from school and end up in jail for violating those all-important nanny laws. In extreme cases, they might even quote Ron Paul. But now there's a solution. The good people at Pilfer can help you with their time-release, once-daily capsule, Compliacin. Compliacin reduces non-essential pain by 70%. Your child won't be able to form his own opinions, let alone express them. This drug can even keep your kids off drugs. Unlike outdated methods such as punishment or uniforms, Compliacin works on the inside, taking choice completely out of the equation. Compliacin combines Thorazine, Ritalin, and 15 secret herbs and spices. It has all the effectiveness of a chemical straitjacket with none of the drooling. It maintains your child's ability to go to a state-run school and perform simple tasks around the house. You won't have to worry about parenting, and the school won't have to deal with your kid asking questions. Compliacin. You'll go from this.
Quit telling me what to do! Quit telling me what to do! Quit telling me what to do!
To this.
Good morning, Mother. I love going to school. And this week we're learning all about how the government is our federal family and they're here to help us.
Compliacin. Talk to your school psychiatrist and ask for it by name. Compliacin. From Pilfer.
Pilfer. We've got a pill for everything.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I'm your host, Brent Johnson. My guest is Professor James McCanney. We have callers on the line, and if you'd like to be one of them, 866-870-KRLA will get you on the air. That's 866-870-5752. Now, I've got a caller here. I don't have a name. I don't have a location. So first thing, caller, I'm going to put you on the air. I'd like you to tell me your name and where you're calling from. You are on the air. Hello. Who's the caller?
Could that possibly be me? Hello?
Yeah, well, all the studio gave me was one caller. And so that could be you. I don't know.
Well,
Tell me your first.
well, that must
Tell
be
me your
me then.
first
That
name
must be
and where
me.
you.
My name is Ronald, and I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Excellent, Ronald. Welcome to the show. You're on the air with Professor James McCanney. What's on your mind?
This may be the most consequential question ever asked of you, Professor. Its significance will be explained after your response. My question is this: was the Big Bang a shotgun blast or a hand grenade going off?
Well, it was in 3 dimensions, so a shotgun would be directed, a hand grenade would be like in all directions. So it'd be more like,
Yes,
but
yes.
there was no such
Did
thing
the
as a Big Bang.
particle in 760
There was
degrees,
no Big Bang.
or was it like a person speaking where the sound waves were more like a shotgun blast?
No, let's step back. There was no such thing. There is no such thing as a Big Bang. It's a theoretical, and today it's a theoretical disaster. But if there were, it would be more like a 3-dimensional explosion from a hand grenade.
Like a hand grenade. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. Interesting question. Can you tell me, is there any history to the kind of patterns of behavior we have seen as a result of the passage of 3I Atlas through our solar system? Is this something brand new, or have we previously seen anything else like it as a basis for comparison?
No, we've not seen anything come this fast. There were 2 previous items that came, what we call interstellar, so they were moving very fast, meaning they're in hyperbolic orbits, meaning they're moving so fast that they're not trapped by the sun. And so in that sense, it's a unique item. But we've had other items that have bigger discharges of the solar capacitor. And by the way, before the break, you asked me about the alignment of the planets.
Oh, yes. I was going
to answer.
I was curious. If that alignment has anything at all to do with the fact that you said that the right now it's looking like 3I Atlas is now right nose to nose with Jupiter and all that. Is this alignment a factor?
No, actually, this is a visual alignment. And this is what they like to publish. This is a great example of misinformation in the scientific world in astronomy, because it's a visual alignment. It's not a linear or electrical alignment or gravitational alignment. It's simply visual. It's just that the planets happen to be in the same line in the sky, and so it's not anything to write home about. It's just a visual alignment. It's going to last for one night, and that's it.
They said maybe 2 or 3 nights, but I looked yesterday. I couldn't find anything. I was able to see what I think was Jupiter, and I did see what looked like a couple of with my eyes, a couple of very, very faded or faint lights. But I have no idea if they're among that group of 6. Supposedly, Mercury and Venus were already down by the horizon at that point. I don't know. I couldn't see anything. So, did you see? Did you look?
It would
did
be
you see
very
anything?
close to the horizon. It would be very close to the horizon in the evening sky. But Jupiter is often left field. Jupiter is like, if you look at, say, about 2 a.m, that's when Jupiter starts coming up straight overhead and then falling down in the western sky. And it's the biggest thing there. And then there's a couple other stars near it, pretty bright stars. But no, it has nothing to do with this visual alignment. Jupiter is often left field compared to this alignment.
Were you able to see the alignment?
Well, the comet and Jupiter interacting. I have some small equipment I've been using every night because I was expecting 3I Atlas to really potentially explode into a big comet with the interaction with Jupiter, but that's yet to be seen. I actually talked about this. It's called what I call the Born of Jupiter date. That's when 3I Atlas and Jupiter were perfectly aligned relative to us, our point of view. And the ancients talked about a comet that appeared to come out of Jupiter. And that's one of the big stories of ancient history, is that Venus became a comet, eventually became the planet Venus that we know today. The Mayan Popol Vuh, the Incas talk about it, the Japanese, the Orientals talk about it, that there was a comet that appeared to come out of Jupiter. And so that, what I call the alignment of 3I Atlas with Jupiter, was on the 28th, yesterday.
Okay, let me pause again. Have to take another break. We'll be back with more with Professor James McCanney and your calls. This is the Global Freedom Report. Stay tuned.
We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to
the Global Freedom Report.
A common law pure trust organization is the most powerful asset protection device available. Pure trusts have been around in the USA since 1790, when Patriot Patrick Henry created the first one. Pure trusts establish ironclad protection for real property, vehicles, businesses, and just about anything else. A pure trust creates a wall of privacy over its assets, reduces personal liability, and protects property from attachment. Freedom Bound International has been creating pure trusts for over 35 years, and none of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. Call today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us for information and applications for their pure trusts. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
The Answer. Breaking news.
The Pentagon is reporting that 3 U.S. service members have been killed and 5 others have been seriously injured as part of Operation Epic Fury, the joint Israel combat operation against Iran. A statement from U.S. Central Command says that several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. The statement said that the identities of the service members will be withheld until 24 hours after the families have been notified. Larry Marino in the Answer Newsroom.
Gil Ascarati here, host of Real Estate Radio LA, saving the American dream one show at a time every Saturday at 2 p.m. I break down the real estate industry, the good, the bad, and the ugly, tackling tough questions like, is your real estate agent overpaid? Should you use a discount broker? Who's paying the commission? Or maybe flipping your own home? Join me, Gil Ascarati of Pinnacle Estate Properties, every Saturday at 2 p.m. right here on the great AM 870, The Answer.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. Their max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Daniel here from the Morning Answer, and the Southern California half-price tuition program is going on right now. Give your child or grandchild a quality private education with solid academics, fun activities, a safe learning environment, and the same conservative values you teach at home. Pay half the regular tuition, and AM 870 The Answer pays the rest. We still have great schools in your area, but they're going fast. Go to am870.info, select a school, and lock in your child's place today for the 26-27 school year. Visit am870.info.
We don't make the news that happens. We just bring it to you first with the facts, then the opinions. AM 870, The Answer.
AM 870. The answer.
Aloha, this is Michelle Melendez, author of The Death of Freedom, How the American Dream Dies and How to Save It. And you are listening to the Global Freedom Report with Brent Johnson.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. I am your host, Brent Johnson. Our toll-free number, if you'd like to be part of the show, is 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. My guest is Professor James McCanney. Professor McCanney, are you there?
Yes. Yep.
There we go. Okay. I did not see you for a moment. I wondered if somehow they knocked you off or something of that sort had happened. Now, a couple things came to mind during the break. Okay, first of all, would you equate the theoretical principle of warp speed with any of the activity of these interstellar comets? I mean, are they, obviously they're not nearly approaching. Warp speed is in excess of the speed of light. So, obviously they're not approaching anything like that, but you are talking about enormous speed. And I cannot help but wonder, is the concept of warp speed, the ability to travel interstellarly, in any way, do you believe that what you're learning from the traveling of interstellar comets in some way supports or relates to the theoretical principle of warp speed?
Okay, that's an interesting question, because actually comets are very much involved in interstellar travel. And the reason is, in the early 1980s, when I was developing all the theoretical work for electrical solar system and how it works, I realized there were these electrical currents, and they typically center around comets or something like a big planet like Jupiter. But what I did is I invented two forms of electromagnetic propulsion systems. And there are electrical currents that I predicted, they've finally been discovered physically, that flow between the stars. And it's basically the galaxy has a fusion engine at the center, has an excess current of protons, develops a capacitor, and the discharge, rather than coming down via comets like this, come down the galactic arm. So there's an actual current that's flowing between the stars, and you can ride that current as a form of propulsion and not use rockets. In other words, what you see today, you go down to the Cape and you see a physical rocket that's taking off, and tremendous amount of thrust, a tremendous amount of force, and a tremendous amount of weight to lift off and get people up into low Earth orbit. And it turns out that none of that is necessary, because there are things called electromagnetic propulsion systems. And so anyway, since comets are central to the idea that we have electrical currents in the solar system and you can ride those currents, they're very essential in leaving the solar system or in coming into the solar system. If you were going to come in on a spacecraft, you would choose a comet, and that's how you would brake. You would slow down. And so anyway, the idea of space travel is coupled to the entire concept of electrical currents in outer space.
So at least we don't need to abandon the theory. At least it is conceivably possible. Excellent. Now, the other thing you mentioned, that there are while AI 3I Atlas is unique, you did mention there have been a couple of comets that were bigger. When you say bigger, do you mean the size of the comet, like the nucleus, or do you mean the extent of the discharge from the comet?
Both. And a lot of times too, with normal comets at normal speeds, it's the size of the nucleus that counts. For example, Hale-Bopp was a very big nucleus. And there's a long story to that about how NASA lied about the size of it. But it was a very large nucleus, and it had a very large discharge. And it slowed down in its orbit. There was a lot of tail drag. But yeah, so, and then historically, see, the big comets are very, very rare. Very rare. Most of the stuff flying around in outer space is the size of a tennis ball, or maybe, like a couple miles across. Very, very few things are planet size. And so, we don't see them very often.
So 3I Atlas is actually a bigger object than most. You said about the size of Manhattan Island or something.
Well, that's what I mean. We don't know, because there's actually a good way to measure size is with a radio telescope, but they don't do it because they want to maintain these other bogus tertiary methods of measuring the size of a comet nucleus. But all you do with a radio telescope is you send out a beam, it bounces off the solid part, and then you get it back. You can measure it to within a couple inches, but they don't do that. And with 3I Atlas, is very obviously missing. So you find Avi Loeb making these estimates based on albedo and other measurements that have nothing to do with the real size. But historically, there have been big comets. In the frame that you have here on my side over here, like right down here, there's a picture. If you could, I don't think there's any way. Maybe your editor, your producer, could show the whole poster behind me. But there are Indian rock drawings where they show comets with great big nuclei. Yeah, see this right down here. Let me see.
Yeah,
okay.
that's sure. That's my engineer. He can do wonders.
Okay, do you see the comet there? The one on the far side has a nucleus that's drawn that's very much planetary size, and you see these figurines. This is, by the way, at Green River, Utah. There's some petroglyphs there. Indian or Aboriginal art drawing. But one of them is a comet with a planet-sized nucleus. So these ancients saw this and potentially were affected by it, but at least and you see the characters there with their arms outstretched, which indicates big to me. So at any rate, historically, they've been observed, but they're very, very, very rare.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very much. Now, hang on. I'm not sure now. I'm a little confused because my studio sent in a caller without a name. Then I think I got Ray from LA, but now I see another listing. It says Ray from LA. So Ray from LA, are you back on the line? Is that you, or have you gotten off already? Ray from LA, are you on the air?
I didn't call before. My comments are on artificial intelligence and electronics. About artificial intelligence, I believe there's constitutional rights violations like privacy and security, because artificial intelligence is being used to surveil people and also to do business management. Now, as far as electronics is not reliable. Systems do fail. And we've all seen the internet go down, and we know that electronic components do fail, and this could cause more problems than really be worthwhile using.
All right. Professor McKenney, I see you nodding as he's talking.
Well, imagine you're on the highway and you call up. Yeah, you imagine you're on the side of the highway, your car broke down. You pick up the phone and you call the number they gave you to call when you have a breakdown. And you get an AI engine. And it says, what's your problem? Okay, where are you? And you get into this infinite loop of the AI system transferring you. This actually happened to me. And that, oh, well, then we have to transfer you to a different department. And you're standing out on the side of the road, traffic's rushing by, you have an emergency, and you get an AI engine that's failing. I dropped a company I had used to transfer files. I won't name what it is, but I had used them for years, and all of a sudden they had an AI engine. I had a problem with the software operational. I sent in a chat, and I get this AI engine, and they couldn't resolve my problem. I kept getting the same answer. I just dumped them. I said, I can't deal with this. The product doesn't work. They got an AI response engine. And that's a good example of a company that's probably going to go out of business because it installed an AI engine as a phone answering service, thinking they're saving money.
It's interesting. Last week, I saw an old episode of X-Files. Of course, they're all old episodes, but this particular episode was all about the two main characters, FBI agents Mulder and Scully, who go into an artificial intelligence sushi restaurant. She orders what she wants and she gets it. He orders what he wants and he doesn't get. I mean, it's hard. What he gets is absolutely it doesn't even look like food. Okay, so he doesn't like it. He wants to get rid of it. Okay, he's getting ready to leave. He puts his credit card in. They charge him, and they ask for a tip. He's not going to give a tip, so he says no tip. The AI won't give him back his credit card. Okay, and over the next 3 hours, they keep reminding him, "You got 3 hours to leave a tip." And as he gets closer to the end of that, they start counting down. And you could see all of the robots, their so-called eyes are turning red. And when you count down, something is going to happen. And as it gets down to 3, 2, 1, he finally agrees to give him a tip. And everything goes back to normal. They're happy and they let him out. Okay. It's a very funny episode, but it's also a very telling statement on what AI can become. Ray, thank you. Appreciate the call on AI. Very much do. Just some odd stuff that can come out of it. Where you're telling me they kept turning you around and from the side of the road, and I can't help you. I'll give you somebody who can, back and forth forever and ever until you grow old and die. It really is the case. All right, we'll go back to the phones in just a second. We're going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll get more of your calls. And we got a few more questions I want to run by you, Professor James McCanney. We will be back with more after these words.
Stay with us. More truth and freedom right around the corner.
Freedom Bound International is a common law service center specializing in asset protection. For more than 35 years, they've helped people free themselves from government control. Their common law Pure Trust organization successfully protects property from confiscation, claims, liens, and judgments. None of their trusts have ever been successfully attacked. The Private Interest Foundation holds assets internationally, distributes funds privately, and does so anonymously. Their stealth LLCs let you set up banking as privately as possible. They offer books, CDs, DVDs, and a variety of products and services designed to teach you how to live free from Big Brother. Call them today at 888-385-FREE. That number again is 888-385-3733. Or visit their website at freedomradio.us. Freedom Bound International, dedicated to the preservation of personal freedom, privacy rights, and the principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence.
This is Ambrose Evans Pritchard, International Business Editor of the Daily Telegraph in London, and you're listening to the Global Freedom Report.
I haven't got a brain, only straw.
How can you talk if you haven't got a brain?
I don't know. But some people without brains do an awful lot of talking. Don't they?
Yes, I guess you're right.
Say you want a revolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world.
And welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. My name is Brent Johnson. I'm your host. My guest is Professor James McCanney. Our toll-free number is 866-870-KRLA, 866-870-5752. Question, Professor McCanney. Do you believe that extraterrestrial life exists, sentient or otherwise? And if so, well, that's the other half of it. Do you believe extraterrestrial life exists? And if so, do you believe sentient alien life exists? Let's get that out of the way one way or the other. What is your professional opinion?
I do. Although as a scientist, I don't have personal evidence of being, I understand how interstellar travel works. I believe that we're not going to be unique. I think that we've already proven that there are aliens because we've gone to other worlds where we are aliens. So, I think it's a matter of time until we learn how to traverse interstellar space. And here's the thing, we live in the very far reaches of our galaxy. We're literally out in the boondocks. It's 4 light years to the nearest star, and it's within the circle of stars that are near us, 50, 100 light years. So what if you lived closer into the center of the galaxy? You would have star clusters with thousands of stars and probably huge amounts of biological, well-developed life, And so I believe that, I doubt if we're the only, I actually have a book, it's called The Diamond Principle. And the idea is that if you find a diamond on the far side of the universe or a proton, it's going to be the same as here. The formation principles are going to be the same. The diamond wouldn't have the same characteristics because they have flaws in them that characterize a diamond, etc. But the process of formulating a diamond is the same. And so the same way with biological life, I think the DNA and the construction, whatever that process, we really don't understand it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So yeah,
well,
the short answer is yeah.
Okay, let me expound on that. There are growing bodies of information suggesting alien life exists. Members of the U.S. Congress have even started looking into the existence of alien life. Shows like X-Files discussed very, very credibly the possibility that the government was keeping from us the idea of alien life. We know that the so-called elites have some kind of peculiar code that they're going to tell us what they're going to do before they do it. So when we see shows like X-Files, movies like 2001, we have to wonder, are they telling us something that exists that they don't really want to overtly tell us about? Everyone knows about 1947 Roswell, New Mexico, that incident in which supposedly a spacecraft crashed. Okay, all this stuff, okay, has been thrown in our direction, okay, on and on. What are your professional thoughts about these types of concerns? Okay, on the one hand, yeah, okay, you say you think alien life probably does exist, but do you have any empirical data about, for example, the Roswell incident or any of the other types of stories where the government might be keeping information about the existence of alien technology from the people?
Okay, so I believe the government has a huge amount of information, but this disclosure movement and everything is never going to get real disclosure. They're not going to let out real information to you, the public. It's just not going to happen. And so they'll they want Trump to step up to the podium, but see, they're using this to bring in the new world government, the one world government, because to defend against the aliens, doggone it, we just need that one world government. That's what's going on right now. So they're using it, and they're using this fire that the people have, because most people believe that there are aliens, that there's information the government's holding back. But what they're going to do is use that that fervor of the public that wants this information to bring in the New World Government. That's what's going on right now. And that's the whole issue with Avi Loeb, Three Eye Atlas, all of this. It's all converging right now.
Okay, one more caller, Eric from LA. Eric, welcome to the show. You're on the air. Gotta be quick. We're running low on time. Eric, you are on with Professor James McCanney.
Yes, I'm very geocentric. I have two questions for you. Yeah, we can thank the NSA for that lack of disclosure. And if you're familiar with any of the writings of Stan Deyo, you know we have the technology to go into space. I'm all for that. I'm all for the space movement as long as NASA isn't running it. My two questions. First, do you agree with me that we never really went to the moon? And secondly, since the Word of God describes the moon as a light, it's never been called a sphere or a rock or a planet. How can they be talking about going to the moon in 2028? How can they land on a light disk? Those are my two questions.
Okay, hang on, Eric. Great, hang on, Eric. Professor McCanney, what do you say about the moon?
Okay, well, regarding the Apollo program, my official statement is that it is an unverified scientific claim. And to be a scientific claim that is verified, you need a third-party independent verification. Nobody was there when it happened. The only verification we've ever gotten is from NASA itself, and that's not allowed in science. You don't verify your own claims, so that it's never really been officially verified. And the best way to verify it would, if you have like a scientific experiment, is to have somebody on site or somebody reproduce it, and none of those things have ever happened. So in the scientific sense,
by the way, you on my show many years ago, you pointed out that at the time of the Apollo 11 supposed flight, okay, the ability to traverse the Van Allen belt without getting fried from the radiation was impossible.
Right, and that's one of the big things. Let's talk about batteries. All of the things that had to occur on that spacecraft after it left Earth orbit had to be done by batteries. That means land on the moon, pressurize the atmosphere in the space capsule when they open the door, keep it refrigerated, keep it heated through huge differences of temperature. And then when they got back in the spacecraft, repressurize it. All of this done with batteries. I want some of their batteries, those Apollo level batteries, because the amount of energy that it took to do this is phenomenal. And with the battery technology of the day.
Yeah, we're talking 1969. Okay, we're talking almost 60 years ago, not today's.
Yeah, and they had the fuel cells. Anyway.
Jay McCanney Science that's your website, Jay McCanney Science, correct? Is this the best way for people to learn about your work? And can users contact you through the website? And can they help support your efforts?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have the links to the water filter page, but at the bottom of the page, jmccanneyscience.com, or the short URL is jmccsci.com, 7 letters. But yeah, there's an email address and
excellent
contact information.
We'll have that all on the globalfreedomreport.us website as soon as we get the show posted over there, the archive show. It'll all be there. Professor McCanney, thank you so very much for being with me. There's so much more we can do. I would love to bring you back if you're open to it at some point in the not too distant future. All right, folks, that's it for this edition of the Global Freedom Report. Please, next week, okay, we are going to, we can't even tell you what we're going to do next week. Just watch for the information, all right? We'll tell you all about it. Contact us off the air at 888-385-3733, 888-385-FREE. We can show you how to protect your liberty, your property, and your privacy from government intrusion. Tune in next week for another edition of the Global Freedom Report. I'm Brent Johnson, reminding you that freedom is your birthright. It is a gift from God. treat it accordingly. God bless you. See you next week.
Your eyes and you will see that America is still the land of the free.
This program was sponsored by Freedom Bound International.
AM 870. The answer. Distrust, discord is not what we are